Dr. Mashelkar, Dr. Kelkar, Dr. Natarajan, Dr. Ghani, Mr. Vaidya, and what is truly a distinguished audience. I was asked by Dr. Kelkar to speak at the release of this book. I was in two minds. But an invitation by Dr. Kelkar to do such a thing is very precious. I accepted, and here I am. I've gone through the book. It's an outstanding presentation. I'm very happy to say that the authors are exalted people, outstanding domain insight. They have shed light on different aspects of our developmental requirements, developmental achievements. And what is very, very laudable is that as much as there is insight, there is foresight. And they have been able to point the direction in which various aspects of development which will determine the future of our beloved country should be pursued, should be looked at, should be cared for. These are very, very interesting articles where individuals with great domain knowledge have, for the silos in which they think, brought about a wonderful explanation. The excellent logic of the three pillars of development or prosperity for India: agriculture, manufacturing, and services, are superbly defined, very succinctly clarified as really the pillars on which the building of our aspirational country is to stand. At this point, before I proceed further, I would like to make a general observation. Dr. Kelkar was very kind in saying that very often we have very interesting, very friendly, but somewhat provocative interactions. I love it. He tolerates me. I'm happy about that. I humbly submit that while these three pillars are very valid, very correct, very important, precious, pillars of a building have to stand on firm foundation. We have looked at the pillars. We have looked at the strength, the validity, the relevance, the importance of the pillars in this book. We are also looking at what these pillars can support in future. But are we looking not only in this book specifically, but as a country generally and as thinking people in the country, at the quality of the foundation on which these pillars are standing? The bedrock for any building is to be solid, on which a proper foundation is required, and then you can build on top. I am afraid today we shy away. Dr. Kelkar defined the PIC as a forum, a platform, a gathering of liberal, democratic thinkers who like to think based on the solid principles of our Constitution, how we should conduct ourselves as a nation. I submit that the foundation of the society in which we are has to be looked at in hindsight in order to be able to understand what, if at all, is needed to be corrected about it. And I personally strongly believe that we need to examine this in detail. India as a culture, India as a country has been a geocultural state. The concept of a nation state did not exist till a couple of hundred years ago. So we were all geocultural entities, whether it was European countries or China or India. And this geocultural entity, over thousands of years, evolved a value system or a set of value systems which were not in conflict with each other. They were distinct, they were fundamentally different, they were independently arrived at, they were in interaction for thousands of years without conflict. The Shraman value system, which resulted in the creation of Jainism and Buddhism, and the Vedic value system, which evolved into Upanishadic values, are diametrically different in their concept of who we are, how we are, what we should be doing, what our values are. However, what is common is very important. And we must remember that till 1,000 years ago, there never were any ideological wars in India based on economic ideology or religious fundamentalism. This did not exist. There were distinct systems, but they stayed together. The great change episodes that occurred in India have fundamentally affected the foundation of our society. And I would like to point to 3 such episodes, and then I will talk about what I want to talk about. The first one was the Islamic invasions of India. I am not against Islam. Let me be the first person to say that if Islam accepts ahimsa and anekantavad, tomorrow I will become a Muslim. But Islam attacked India's cultural values, and it left a deep scar. India never recovered from it. The second episode was colonization of India. Colonization further strengthened the Abrahamic thought process in India, and it further changed our social foundation. Today, I'm speaking in English. All of you are fluent English speakers. It's because of colonialism. Has it changed our country? Yes. Can we speak in Marathi or Hindi? Yes, we can. But at occasions like this, when we want to say something which is of importance, we inevitably lapse into English. So these 2 episodes fundamentally changed our society. The basic social value system in India is today not clear. It is a mixture of many things. To add to this, when eventually in 1947 India became independent and offered an opportunity for both the Abrahamic value system and the colonial value system to leave India, it was an opportunity to create a peaceful and cooperative society once again. Our political leadership at that time chose, after the demise of Gandhi, Patel, after the decline of Prasad and Rajaji, to attempt a change in our bedrock values further. And that was the introduction of atheistic socialism which is based on class conflict. Socialism is necessarily conflict oriented. It denies the place for private enterprise. It negates the principle of enterprise. It is based on a different set of values. This, along with what we call secularism, was introduced into our constitution. I am aware of the fact that the liberal democratic elite of India like to refer to the constitution and particularly remind everybody of the socialist, secularist nature of it, which is an imposition a quarter of a century after the constitution was promulgated. Why am I saying such things about secularism? Fundamentally because secularism in our society is misunderstood. Secularism, or the way it is implemented, is not sarva dharma samabhav. It is not. It has turned Hinduism into a parochial, narrow-minded thought. That is what it says it is. And it has turned the society to accept the special privileges for the Abrahamic branch of our national population as something which has to be protected at all costs. I have no intention of saying that we should not be inclusive. We must be inclusive. But that can only be on the basis of shared values. And the shared values are sarva dharma samabhav, which is not acceptable to many. It has to be on the shared value of enterprise. And I'll come to that in a minute. So, over the past 70 years, the bedrock of our value system has been chipped at, it has been loosened. Socialism has promoted class war, it has destroyed free enterprise or attempted to do so. I don't think we have time, but I can cite 500 examples of how private enterprise was deliberately stabbed in the back. Secularism, as I said, is a good word, but it is wrongly applied. The economic and social problems of India today, to a very great extent, emanate from this, from the socialism that has seeped into our minds. If you talk of Ambani, you would say the crook. A generation ago, Tata and Birla were also looked at as crooks. Today they are not. Adani, I don't think anybody here will stand up and say Adani is a man of great values. Whether he is or not, I don't know. How many of our politicians are men of great values? Can anybody here stand up and say, I know this politician who is of great values? So this judgment of enterprise and the entrepreneurs in India is soiled by the fact that we cannot shed our socialist baggage, nor can we shed our secularist baggage. And I fundamentally believe that these need to be changed. Now coming to the book. The book is about how to build the future of India. What is relevant for building on these three pillars that will meet the aspirations of the average Indian. It will provide equal opportunity to women. It will be caste, class neutral. Everything is right. But I personally feel that it is the book, though wonderful, I'm delighted to accept that every word of what every author has written is thrilling. It shows the way. But it ignores this principal factor that you need to change the character of the society in India if you want to make it strong.